Hello, good evening, and welcome to yet another episode of the Gooner Ramble. Today we're bringing you the first of many specials over the course of the summer, where we'll be taking a look at what the events in France at the Euro 2016 Championships, and with a particular eye on what's going on with the Arsenal players and with transfer stuff as well. So this is the first of a series of specials we'll be bringing to you over the summer. I'm joined today by two guests. I'm sure you've all heard them before. Was, good to have you with us, mate.
Hi, Cal. You all right, mate?
Yeah, great stuff. I'm great, mate. And Clive, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Can't wait to get started. Hurry up.
Right. Well, normally we could, under normal circumstances, we could get straight into the tournament chatter, but we signed a player. I know this is kind of old news now, but this is the first time we've had a chance to sit down and talk about it properly. And we signed a player before kind of anyone else has in the Premier League, which is a bit of a surprise. So we'll have a player to watch in the summer playing for Switzerland, who we've not seen playing for Arsenal yet. And that player is, of course, Granit Xhaka, arrived from Borussia Mönchengladbach, I think it is, if I got that right. And he's signed for somewhere in the region of £30 million. Before we get into the discussion of the tournament, we'll talk about him for a little bit. I'll start with you, Clive. You know, what are your initial impressions of him, and what do you make of this signing, especially with it coming so early in the summer?
Yeah, it's excellent news, right? So, due to the power of YouTube, we're all Xhaka experts now, aren't we? Really, we know what he can do. We've watched all the top 3 videos on him, so we can talk. I think most people are quite excited about him actually, because they can see a player that we sort of have needed for quite a while. You know, things like leadership and, you know, a bit of grit. And we've waited for that for quite a long time. But I had my YouTube look, and I did watch one game, Switzerland v Belgium, and I had a little close look at him. And I'm interested to see how he fits into the team, because he opens up a lot of combinations in our centre midfield immediately. But the first thing you notice about him, there's 2 or 3 things. There's a couple of negatives, right? He's not super quick. So that's, I don't think our centre mid is quick. That's one to look out for. But he's got a great range of passing. It's obvious. You only got to watch a couple of minutes of video to recognise that. But what is interesting for our team is he's got a great pass left to right. And I think our right side with Alexis and Bellerin is fast becoming our strongest side. And I just started to think, if we can start firing the ball out there early and get Alexis one-on-one in situations on the right-hand side very, very quickly, because it's not just his range of passing, it's his pace of passing. His passing is really strong and really firm. So the quicker the ball gets there, the sooner you've got, the more time you have to create isolation and one-on-ones. So he looks really exciting. 23, good age, good price. No one's debating it. He's in Bundesliga Team of the Year. He opens up so many options, right? And I've got to say, for a player I hadn't heard of a year ago, I'm really excited about him. So, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, great stuff. What about you, Was? What do you make of him? One other thing as well, do you think, were you a bit surprised when you heard that we'd signed him? I mean, for us to get a deal in, he's our third most expensive signing ever. He's in a position that you could make the case for that we don't really, we need a striker perhaps more than a midfielder. We need another centre-half perhaps. We do have the numbers in the midfield. So, what do you make of him, and were you a bit surprised to see that we got this done so early?
It's beautiful to see us get a deal over the line this early, and especially a player of his ability. I mean, for me, this man coming here, I'm so excited. This is as excited I've been as I've been. Obviously, Mesut Ozil and Sanchez are 2 world-class footballers, but in this position and the qualities and abilities he has as a footballer, I think he's going to really, really, really make this team tick. And as Clive said, it's easy to watch YouTube videos and that, and everyone will have their own perception of what sort of role he'll play in this team. But from what I've seen of him, I think he has the perfect manner to play for Arsenal. As Clive said, he's so quick in transition. His passing is very, very to the point and very precise, both long and short distances. Defensively, he is on point. He's intelligent. He does make big tackles, but he doesn't do it all the time, because he's 9 times out of 10 in the correct place. He sees things before they happen. And I mean, the Nemanja Matic, the impact he had on Chelsea that last season when they won the title was so big. And I think Granit Xhaka could be a similar sort of player for us in but I think he's got a bit more about his game. His range of passing is phenomenal. I mean, and it really, really, really will make the difference. I think I'm excited about him, really.
Well, it's interesting.
That's a great shout, that is, Matic. You know, because I was thinking more of a little bit more of a Petit. You know, I'm just thinking about to Arsenal, but actually, you know, when Matic first arrived, and he really was a bit of a dribbler, apart from the lazy player who gave up playing last season. So he would drive the play and he would move the ball, and that's a great shout. I think that's a great, you know, something he could be very quickly, and he does make big tackles and he does go to ground. He's the sort of player that would, I think, get people off their seats. You know, big tackle, bang, everyone's up. You know, and I am excited. Like I say, I've got no shame in saying a year ago I didn't know anything about him, wasn't thinking about him. But you know, about 6 months ago, I started to hear a few things, and now I'm an expert, right? I can tell anyone.
I think everyone's an expert now.
So,
everyone with a YouTube account.
Yeah, but it looks like there's a plan behind this one, which is quite exciting, really. So yeah, I'm buzzing.
Well, it's interesting that you know, you mentioned the comparisons to Matic at Chelsea, and Clive, you mentioned Manuel Petit. You know, some people have said that this, you know, the more recent example, and one that's Arsenal specific is that Xhaka is kind of the long-term successor to Arteta. You know, who between 2011 2013, before his legs really went, he kind of gave us that ability to distribute from the back in a way that perhaps the likes of Flamini and even someone as good as Coquelin hasn't been able to do. What do you make of that comparison, Clive? Do you think that Xhaka is, you know, going to be in that midfield, you know, what we had with Arteta, or do you think he brings something else, or maybe lacks what Arteta had in that period, or do you think that comparison's not a good one at all?
I think it's a decent one. I know maybe the next question is people are hoping that a certain Aaron Ramsey will play next to him, but I do see Xhaka as a bit more British in his approach, in his defensive work. I think he'll please the eye to a lot of Arsenal fans. I think we recognise that type of player, you know, defensively, and I think on the ball we've seen a lot of good playmakers. But yeah, there's lots of people. I think Johan Drew compared him to Pirlo. So it seems as though he's like a quarterback to me. That's what he looks like on the videos I've seen. And he's a director of play, and he's happy to lead the play. And you could say, you know, you can compare him to many players, right? Arteta, you know, Cazorla leads our play. You know, I actually think he's a replacement for Cazorla in our team. I think it's going to be quite interesting. I don't see that combination with the two of them. But so I think that's where he could go. I think we miss Cazorla's brain when he's not there. I think he directs us. So I'm interested to see if he directs us. I just think he opens up a million options. I think it's exactly what's required. He's the right age. He's got the right playing profile. And I'm not going to shoehorn him and a partner into it. I'm really looking forward to see how the midfield develops, because it's an area that's concerned me for a long time.
well, if you're not willing to comment, then Clive, I'm going to ask you because my next question was who is going to partner him? Because if we assume that he's going to go straight into the side, and it's hard to imagine that he won't, given the money that we've spent on him, and that Özil continues to occupy the number 10 spot, that really only leaves one central midfield spot up for grabs. And suddenly, you know, we not that long ago we were playing Ramsey and Flamini as our partner, our midfield partners, and now we have Xhaka, who's going to start, you'd presume, and then we have next to him we have, you know, Cazorla, who Clive mentioned, we have Ramsey, we have Wilshere, we have Elneny, we have Coquelin. That's to me with Xhaka, that's 6 players for 2 spots. So you know, if you had to put money on, presuming everyone stays fit, which might be a bit of a long shot, going into the new season, who's going to be our starting partnership, presuming Xhaka starts?
See, the way I'm looking at Granit Xhaka, and you just spoke about the comparisons with previous players. I mean, like Clive touched on, Arteta was a distributor. Coquelin is grit. He's defensively minded, but he does lack that ability to play a penetrative pass from deep, which we sometimes need. Xhaka combines all these attributes in one man, and he's a receiver, like Clive touched on, a quarterback, and he's going to be the one receiving the ball off the centre-backs, coming deep, making things happen. So, in that sense, Santi Cazorla is absolutely fantastic footballer, but I think he needs to be played further up the pitch with regards to a 2, either if Ozil's out or a bit of rotation or we change approach. I think we need a ball runner between the two, between Ozil and Xhaka. And I mean, I'm a massive Ramsey fan, and I always
even
have
with his new
been.
haircut, by the way.
By the way, that's a shocking Barnet, but as long as he plays well on the pitch, it doesn't matter to me. But to be fair, with Aaron Ramsey, if the ball's quick in transition and he's better than anyone at getting into good areas in the final third, and if Xhaka's picking up his ball off the centre backs and like Clive touched on earlier, pinging 50, 60-yard balls out to Alexis Sanchez, we're going to need a runner getting close to Giroud and getting into that final third. And I would like to see the pairing of Ramsey and Xhaka just had a go. And you got Jackie Wilshere as well, and then for bigger defensive games, you could be going with Coquelin and Xhaka, because it looks to me like
a choice, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It looks to me like Granit Xhaka could do both.
Yeah. See, this is why I didn't want to comment, but now I have to, right?
Well, I was going to put it to you, Clive, anyway.
I think it's very difficult to comment on this because we don't know. Every game's different, and we've got the opportunity now. What pleases me is that we can play different formations, right? Yep. So, and we've got that option because he's the right size, he's the right shape, he's got the right attributes. What's really pleased me about the last two centre midfield signings is that they look like centre midfielders to me. They're technically excellent. They move the ball quickly. They've got different styles, and you're talking about having a runner. I sort of agree with you there. I think the person that fits with Ozil and Xhaka needs to be a runner, right? Needs to be a runner, and we've got two marathon men. We've got El Neni and we've got Ramsey. I actually think, my preference is I actually think Ramsey's best work is in the top third. So if you're looking for a centre midfielder as one of your middle base, I think El Neni is far superior in that role. I actually think with Ramsey, we've got to stop giving him two jobs. People say we need to have him running up alongside Giroud. I think that's 2 years old, that statement. We need to give him a much smaller space to work in and stop making him run the marathons. Try to get him to concentrate on the area of the pitch he is in and control it. And in the last third, if you're going to give him 1.5 job, don't let him cover so much distance. Make it be a shorter distance. Get him higher up. Or for me, I think he's just a little bit looser in possession and he lacks a little bit of control. That's just my opinion from last season. I think El Neni is all about control, all about movement, all about facilitation, selfless in his running, runs as far, if not further, and has just as many touches. So for me, the initial partnership, the three of El Neni, Xhaka and Ozil, I'd like to see. But it doesn't mean Ramsey doesn't play. It just means that he plays for a different area of the pitch.
Okay, it's interesting because, I guess it's nice to finally have a lot of choice in that midfield, and it's going to be really interesting to see what Wenger does moving forward because, we had that Coquelin Gazzola axis that worked really well for us the end of the season before last, and obviously injuries meant we rarely saw that last season, especially towards the end. So, I guess what we can say is it's
proper player though. It's going to be fun watching him. And to be honest, me and Woz had a little chat there, but we don't know. It's going to be great to watch though. Cause
no idea, have we?
We've got rather than talking about the three boys who had a pension last year, we got two players that have come in, and they're both excellent. And quite interestingly, both come in. Both got links to Switzerland, which I think is an interesting market, right? So,
that gives me a great chance to move on to our next topic, which is another Swiss player we've been strongly linked with, which is Ricardo Rodriguez, the Wolfsburg left back. Reports earlier in the week from Kicker, which is a German newspaper. I couldn't tell you quite how reliable they are, but it seems to be that what they're saying, which is that Arsenal will activate a release clause in Rodriguez's contract this summer. There seems to be a bit of weight behind it because a lot of people are assuming that it's going to get done. So, I guess we obviously have knowing that Xhaka signed, we've all been able to go away and watch these YouTube videos against this really crap dubstep music, and we were able to watch. I guess with Rodriguez, because he hasn't signed yet, we've not gone away and done that. So, rather than commenting too much on the player himself and us all kind of really straining our knowledge of the Bundesliga even further. I guess the question I have for both of you guys is, do we need a new left back? And is this where we should be potentially diverting, £20 million of our budget this summer? I'll start with you, Woz. I guess to sign 2 players of this quality before the Euros even start would be something of a big, real pleasant surprise. But do you worry that if we do spend 20 million on Rodriguez, that's 20 million that won't get spent on a striker, for example, or a centre back? What do you make of it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd like to think Arsenal as a football club at the moment are not too worried if we do sign Rodriguez, because long-term investment for the value he is at 23 years of age, he could be there for years. And from what I have seen of Rodriguez, I remember him scoring, he scored a free kick at Goodison Park, and he's got an unbelievable left foot. And I've had a little look at his numbers, and in comparison to sort of Monreal and Gibbo, he's managed to get himself 39 goals and assists in his last 100 odd appearances, which is a massive return for a left back. And in comparison, Monreal's only got 10 in his last 130 games for Arsenal, and Gibbo's got 26 odd in his 200 odd games. So his contribution in the final third is much greater. And if Arsenal wants to play narrow, it's so important that our fullback is athletic, is dynamic, and can contribute in the final third a bit more. So I could understand it. And with Monreal, he's not getting any younger. And would Nacho take a back seat? I don't know. He can also be used at centre back, which he has done as a fourth choice centre back, especially with Chambers going out on loan. We all want to see a new centre back, but it'd just be arson to push Nacho central. And see that, and I'd be gutted to see Gibbs go. I really would be gutted to see him go. He's been at the club 12 years now. He's 207 appearances for the club. I love Gibbo. I feel so sorry for him, all injuries and that. But
he never moans, does he? He never moans.
And he's still at an age now where he can, if he does leave, he can still, for the next 4 or 5 seasons, if he does stay fit, he can make a real impact. And I'm a big Gibbo fan, and like I said, Nacho as well. He's been absolutely fantastic.
That's consistent. The thing. I thought the way we've had it last season was just brilliant, because we had Monreal, who for my money is one of the best left backs in the league, and Gibbs, who is a homegrown player, which we do need, and he's a very capable backup. If Monreal was that injured and Gibbs had to come in, I was never too worried. I always would prefer Monreal, but Gibbs always felt like he would do a sturdy job. And there's a great value in having players that are willing to be squad members, maybe only play 20, 30 games a season, many from the bench, many in League Cup games, these sort of matches. So, this news, though, if we sign him, we sign a young player like Rodriguez, and Monreal isn't getting any younger, as you said. Clive, what do you make of it? And I guess the question I'd ask you as well is, is this, this is Rodriguez coming in for Gibbs, how do you feel about that? And how would you feel about it if this was a young guy coming in for Monreal, who, for my money, has been our best defender for the past 18 months? Does your happiness with this transfer, would it be dependent on who leaves and who stays?
No, I look at the player, and I have done a bit of research on him, right? And I tell you what, this guy is a real player, right? If we take these 2 out of that Swiss national team, there'd be a lot of envious eyes, right? Because funny ways, he defends a lot like Monreal. He's not like, what I've seen. I don't see like a super quick, agile left back like, very powerful and bouncy like Danny Rose. He's a bit more cultured. He stays on his feet. He nicks the ball and then runs away with it. He defends very similar to Monreal. He stays close to his centre back, and he's quite progressive. And in the last third, he's accurate, and that's what he's very efficient in the last third. So there's a pass we made that looks quite obvious. It gets there at the right pace, with the right delivery, the right quality. And I see him as being really efficient in the last third. I haven't seen the free kicks, although I've read about that. I have read he's got a great set piece on him. And so Xhaka, so that's interesting. So Sanchez and so's Ozil. So that's a real big plus, really. We've got some options there. I think, I have this little feeling that Monreal may go back to Spain. There was talk about it last year. He said he's happy this year. Suddenly he's saying he's happy in the press. Well, why is somebody asking him that in the first place? So I just got a feeling. I mean, there was another podcast I listened to, and some guy said that both Monreal and Cazorla are thinking about Spain again and going back home. It wouldn't surprise me. And funny enough, our first two potential signings are a centre midfielder, which has all Cazorla's attributes, but he's 6 foot rather than 5'6", and a left back who's potentially 23, 7 years younger than Monreal. And it could happen. We could literally be buying one player to replace two players to replace those two guys. I hope Gibbs stays too. I share your sentiments. He's a proper Arsenal boy. I don't see any reason why he should be going anywhere. We play 60 games. No fullback can play 60 games. So we have to get this thought process out of our mind that when we're picking these players, they're going to play every minute. There's 20 games for Gibbs out there easy if we're smart, and that's without injury and settling in. So I hope he stays. I think I don't want to see Arsenal boys who've been at the club since they were 12, 13 walk away because they've had 1 year of not playing. He's still got about 12 or so appearances this year. Only 2 or 3 in the league, granted, but and only 2 or 3 maybe at fullback. So, but yeah, for me, he's still good enough. And there's not many clubs going to have a backup left back like Kieran Gibbs. I think we should keep him.
Well, yeah, it's definitely interesting, and it's definitely, if we did sign Rodriguez, you would think that one of them is going to have to leave. And, I guess I think if either one of them leave, especially if Monreal left, I'd be pretty gutted. But at the same time, at his age, I can understand why we'd go for a younger player if the opportunity is afforded to us. And, it would be it'd be encouraging, I suppose, because often we would sell a player and then, the backup would then become the first choice, and we'd hope to make do with them. So for us to actually go out and sign a great player like this would be hard not to be excited about it. And just having a look online, Kicker, the German newspaper that reported on it, apparently very accurate, and they called the Xhaka transfer, and apparently Rodriguez missed training today with Switzerland. So making that of what you will. And apparently the clause that we might be looking to activate is only valid in June of this year. So from tomorrow it could all kick off. We don't know, but anyway, we'll keep on top of that, and hopefully the next time we record, there's another transfer to talk about. But moving on, we'll now set our sights more at the international football. Of course, today the Euro 2016 squad for England was announced. Jack Wilshere made the cut. I think we all knew that was going to happen, given Roy Hodgson's. He seems to favour him, even though he's been injured for pretty much the whole season. Andros Townsend missed out. Fabian Delph dropped out the other day, and Danny Drinkwater, wasn't it, the third player to miss out, with Marcus Rashford staying in. So, Clive, your general thoughts on the England squad before we speak about Wilshere a bit more. Do you think that Hodgson made the right calls today?
No, I don't actually. I think Andros Townsend. Well, yeah, I think he's pretty unlucky. The reason why we've only really got one dribbler in Sterling, a wide dribbler, and I think it would be always good to have another one. I think that leaves us a little bit narrow, leaves us a bit lumpy. A few number 10s and a few centre mids that are a little bit quite functional. So I think he's a bit unlucky. I also think Drinkwater's unlucky as well, but I sort of see it. He's going to be loyal to Henderson and Milner, and so the third one, as I just don't see him doing it. I think Barkley's quite fortunate. I think his form's dropped off. I think his backside's got heavy. I don't think he's as dynamic and quick as he used to be, and I think Lallana's gone way past him. And he hasn't exactly teared up trees. So Rooney dropping into that sort of tip of the diamond or number 10 position, he's going to play a lot of minutes. So he's not coming off. He had his little break for Man United with his so-called knee injury, and he's coming back looking good. So and Dele Alli plays number 10. I'm thinking, well, do we need Barkley as well? Wouldn't it be better to have a dynamic winger who can shoot and score? I think we've missed a trick there. But obviously everyone's talking about Jack, non-Arsenal fans are, and I'm sure we're going to come on to that. But the squad is decent, I think there's not a lot, there's not a lot of traumas there. It's just a decent squad. It's a shame for me that we lack, with Welbeck going, I think we lack some wide speed. That's my only issue.
Yeah, no, I'm in general agreement with what you said. I mean, I certainly think Townsend was unlucky given his form at the end of the season, but also what he's done for England, because he has scored a few good goals, especially in qualifying. And looking at the midfield, we don't really have that many wide options. You've got Sterling, Lana, Milner can all do a job. Wilshere again can do a job out wide, but they're not natural wingers by any means. So someone who can, he is a bit of an inverted winger, but you can appreciate he's got a bit of pace, I'm sure. And again, Rashford coming in, I thought he took his goal well the other day, but was his finish that great? I thought, was his whole performance that great? I think people kind of overrating it a little bit. So, what's your general take on it? I mean, do you agree with Clive about that? Drink water. I mean, personally, I think I'm not too upset about that. I feel like we've got a lot of capable midfielders in the middle. He's a bit safe, a bit sturdy, isn't he? I don't think he'd really pull up any trees. What do you think?
I saw, with regards to Drinkwater, I saw someone mention earlier say that his best attribute is N'Golo Kante, which, to be fair,
a bit unfair, but I think
unfair. He's not. You know what I mean? He's had a fantastic season, and I do buy the whole idea of bring players who are on form, but I also do feel that the England manager should be playing players in a system that he wants, not someone who's on form for Leicester or someone's on form for Tottenham or Arsenal or any club. He should be picking an 11, or obviously a full squad, but he should have an idea of the kind of players he wants in his team. And if them players, despite how well they played, if they don't fit into Roy Hodgson's system, then bye, it don't matter. This is what he believes. And I do think that you have to be careful with, if you go purely on players who have played the most games and the way they've played throughout the Premier League season for this season, you could come unstuck, because there's players, I mean, I know a lot of people wouldn't like Theo, but Theo offers something different, like a wide player. Andros Townsend, Theo Walcott, and Clive hit the nail on the head. I mean, we've took a lot of central midfielders, and there's no two ways about it. Roy Hodgson's going to play at Diamond, and that is literally all he's going to do. He loves his Lallanas, he loves his Hendersons. He will not get wide. I mean, the strikers he's picked are, interesting. So he's got, Rooney probably won't play centre forward, but then you've got Kane, Vardy, Sturridge, and Rashford. I mean, I can't see him playing with any sort of width and with that diamond. And I just think it's the same old. Sorry, mate, go on.
So no. What I was going to say, we're listing off those strikers. I mean, presuming we play one striker, you've got Kane in the middle, then suddenly you're already looking at Vardy and Sturridge, who you'd like to have in your team ideally, and they're having to play out wide. We're putting kind of square pegs in round holes, aren't we?
Yeah, the way Roy sets up. I mean, we can be as exciting as we like, but the facts don't lie. He's had 2 major tournaments now. We've only scored more than 1 goal on 1 occasion in any of them games. It's only 7 games, but we beat
Germany. We beat Germany 2 months ago. It's coming home.
And so did our group opponent Slovakia. So let's.
We need to watch them. Only because we defeated them first. Though they were wounded.
Yeah,
you got to believe. You got to believe.
You've got to believe, mate. You have got to believe. You have got to believe. And believe me, I do believe. But I can just. He loves his James Milner. He done it at the last Euros. And a little thing. One quickly before I leave about this. One thing I would say is I'd like England to just keep it simple. I mean, there's players like Andy Carroll, and don't get me wrong, he's not everyone's cup of tea, but just play English football. Just do what we're good at. I mean, we're not going to outpass teams. We're not. Just get the ball wide, get it in the box. I mean, and this is another silly little fact. We've scored 7 goals under Hodgson in the last World Cup and in the Euros. 6 of them 7 goals were from crosses. And we're going to go into a tournament with no width. I don't know.
It is a bit worrying to hear. Clive, did you want to come in on this?
Yeah, that was made some great points, right? I think we do look a bit narrow, and maybe Diamond is the favourite, right? But it's all about, if we are going to do the Diamond, then we've got to think about how we're going to play, right, and where we're going to play. And that incorporates, maybe we got to go a little bit Spursy for this tournament, right? And I'm talking about Dyer and the fullbacks, because if we're going to play a Diamond system with no width, our 2 best attacking fullbacks are the Spurs boys, right? And so what that does, it moves the emphasis higher up the pitch, and it moves the game to the areas where we want to play. So are we going to go a bit Spursy, and what does that mean, right? So for me, some of the Spurs players, although they're great when things are going well, it does concern me about their mental fragility, right? And in tournaments, we've gone out many, many times, not based on our ability, but on doing stupid things like sendings offs and things like that, right? So I'm looking at the mentality of this group, and some of those players that we are relying on that suddenly are the flavour of the month. I question their mentality. I question their mentality under pressure, and there is no bigger pressure than playing for England when the whole nation is watching. So if he's going to go diamond, I do see a big Spurs influence with Dyer, with Walker, with Rose, and I do see Ali and Kane, and they could all potentially start. I mean, a lot of people like Klein, so maybe Klein will get in ahead. Mm-hmm. So that means, we are looking, very, very Spurs-like. And I'm not against that, but there's a mental side to the game, right? And how you apply yourself at key moments, and that's my real concern. It's always my concern for England, but if relying on the young Spurs core, I'm concerned about that. And that's not the Arsenal man talking. That's that's watching, many tournaments, and because those boys deserve to be where they deserve to be. No one would question any of their selections, but I do think it's something to watch, the mentality side.
Well, let's try and get an hypothetical 11 going then. First of all, what formations should you guys go for? It's clear you're not keen on the diamond. I think you are either. Clive, I mean, are we going for a 4-3-3, or would you like to see something that's kind of similar to what we play with Arsenal, with having either Rooney or Ali in the hole where it would be? I mean, what would you go for formation wise?
With this crop of players, I think it's almost impossible to do what I'd like to do, but it's very, very difficult. Welbeck, by the way, is an absolutely massive miss for England, because that left. I actually think this has influenced Roy's decision to play the diamond, and it looks like he's gone all out, because Welbs on that left wing for England is absolutely phenomenal. He does not stop. The pressure. You could have had Kane up front, and you could have had Jamie Vardy. You could have played from the right. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's just one player. But you got Raheem Sterling as well, and I think that would have opened things up. But now without Welbeck and the form of Kane and Vardy up front, I think he's sort of that's swayed Roy. So I think he will go diamond. I think Eric Dyer's got to start, no questions about that. He's had a fantastic season.
So you'd have him in defensive midfield, would you?
I'd probably have him deep.
Clive, would you agree on that with Dyer?
Yeah, I've got my team written here, mate. So
right, great stuff. Okay, cool. Right, so let's work through. I know you're talking about was, but so we'll have Joe Hart. I think there's no debate about that. Yeah. If Butland had been fit, there might be some debate, but I think Hart's good enough. Who we having on the right? Would you? I mean, I'm inclined to say both Tottenham players should be on the bench, but I guess if either the Spurs fullbacks were to start, I'd have Walker over Klein. Then I would want Bertrand over Rose. What would you guys have?
I'm flip reversing that. I think.
Are you?
I'm a Kyle Walker for me. He's just a brain dead footballer. He's athletic and he's good in the final third, but playing Kyle Walker all depends on Eric Dyer's performance, and if he gets a bit like a fish out of water at the biggest level, at the highest level, and you start seeing these players struggle, then they could just be torn apart. I think Klein is a bit more defensively sound, and that's probably why I would choose him. But the way we're going to play, you might well be needing Kyle Walker, so it's difficult. But that's what I'd do. I'd go Klein and Rose as my fullbacks. What
would you have? We can all agree on Smalling and Cahill, I'm guessing, in defence.
For me,
in centre half. I don't think we want Stones in there, do we? Who are your fullbacks be, Clive?
Well, actually, so my back four would be Klein, Smalling, Stones, and Rose. I have gone Stones. I think
I've gone Stones. All right.
Yeah, I think international football suits him. I think he's going back into form. Cahill's had a bit of a tweak of an injury. I've gone Smalling and Stones, but I don't think it's that important. I just think with Dyer there, and Dyer's I call a comfortable footballer. He makes people feel good. They've got a big lump there who can head it away and potentially score off set pieces. So I don't think he's that much of a player. But what he could do, he could set Stones into midfield. I mean, I wish Stones would play the Dyer role. If we had more centre halves, I think he'd be outstanding in that role. So I'd love to swap him around, but Dyer's an excellent way to happen at centre back, and he's an excellent way to happen at full back. But he's comfortable in the centre mid, and I think he allows many other players to play better. So I think he's a pick. I go Rose because I agree with Woz. I probably, in hindsight, having two of the crazy Spurs boys out wide is one too many, right? You only got to have one of them, right? I think Clive just offers a little bit more mental stability. So I think Rose, he has big games in him and he has lots of touches. And I think for the first game, I like to see us take the emphasis away from them. So I think he should play. So that's my back sort of 4-5.
So that's interesting. So we've agreed on Hart, we've agreed on Smalling, which is a bit of an no-brainer, and out of the back five, that's the only two we'd both have in, I suppose. We all want Dyer in the midfield, as much as it pains us to say. Who would be? I'm guessing we'd want to play three in the middle, so two alongside him. Clive, who would you have alongside Dyer?
It's a little bit. I've gone like
it's more complicated than that.
Well, no. I've gone 4-3-2-1 in my formation, right? So, and I've gone the three in. I've gone Dyer, Milner, and Jack. And my two behind, I've gone Rooney and Ali behind Kane. I haven't gone two forwards because the two, I think sometimes, the two in behind will be harder to mark. You're playing tournament football, you're playing a game for your life. I would just start the game with one less forward the first game and see how the tournament develops. So that's how I would do it for the first game to make sure we got a foothold in the competition. I do think Milner's a decent player, and I think with our flyaway fullbacks, either ones we pick, you need that ability to work. I think Jack's ability is getting on the ball and connecting with Rooney and Ali. That's his job. Milner and Dyer are the workhorses, right? And we're going to need that because we do need to control the football in summer tournaments. So that's why Jack is so loved by Roy, because the way he receives it and moves it, buys fouls, influences the referee, influences the game. I don't think he's that fit at the moment. I'm not stupid. Even though we're Arsenal, we've all got to admit it. He's not getting to the bounce of the ball. He's not there. But every single day that goes by, he's going to get fitter, and I think he'll be fine by the first game. So that's my team.
Well, I tell you, that's a formation I didn't really think about, or that personnel. So, but you've argued your point well, Clive. I have to say, it's I guess it's difficult because my international football, you want pace and you want width, and my inclination is to pick a team that will offer us that. But obviously, with the players that Roy's picked, that isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do. So personally, I would play Vardy on the right, which I don't think is an ideal match. But see, I didn't know. I understand that. But
listen. Reason why, if you look at the team I've picked, right, we've got to stop doing this when we do England. What we do is we pick personalities, and then we try to fit them in.
I don't think no, that's not necessarily the case. I think he's. Sorry, carry on, Clive.
So Rooney and Ali. I mean, the reason why I went 4-3-2-1 is that Rooney and Ali have both played in that sort of position behind the forward. I think we get a lot of work out of them and a lot of instinctiveness. It's going to be very hard to read for an opposition. I think Kane's number one attribute for me is his pure clarity of what he is. He's a strong boy that's worked very, very hard. And if he gets a shot or a header, he's not messing about. And I think that's such a simplistic thing, but it's a great thing. When you know your job as a player, it's a wonderful thing, right? And he knows his job. He hits size netting, left foot, right foot, and he bangs in shots. And everyone knows what he's going to do. And I think there's a little bit of clarity in that group. It's not going to happen that way. We're going to go diamond. Was it right? We're going to go diamond, right? We're going to go Rooney in behind Vardy and Kane because that's what the papers have told Roy what to do, right? So Ali's going to play one side, Dyer's going to play the other, and Jack's going to play one side, and that's going to be the team, and we're going to get caught out. So, but that's what I would do.
Well, just to defend my point, I understand that Vardy out on the right isn't the ideal situation, but I just think after the season he's had, but also, you also cannot not play Kane. I just think that his pace and his directness on that right side, if we aren't going to play, as you say, it will be a diamond most likely, but I do think having him on the right, even though it wouldn't be exactly where you want him, I still think that ball over the top having him on there would be a big weapon for us. But even if it was just off the bench, perhaps as well, and then I'd have Sterling on the left. And I mean, it's difficult because Rooney is a player that is going to play. Hodgson won't drop him, but I don't know if I'd even have him in my starting 11. Would you have Rooney in there, or
yeah?
Do you think you do?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as we've been talking about, it seems insignificant because, like we said, he is going to play the diamond, and we know that, and he loves his Hendersons and Lallanas and players like that, and I think that's the thing that worries me about Roy. But I'd actually I'd probably, thinking about it, go 4-2-3-1. I'd have Dyer and Wilshere side by side. I'd have Rooney in behind Kane. On the right hand side, I'd have Raheem Sterling, and I'd tell Sterling, just stay out there, make a relationship with Klein. The two of you work together. On the left hand side, although he hasn't played there, I would probably play Dele Alli. And with Rose's ability to get up and down, and the amount, as Clive said, he does get off the ball, you are not going to miss too much if Dele Alli is coming inside. And you know from my Arsenal views, I hate inverted wingers, but for this scenario, it could work, and then it leaves you the option on the bench. I mean, Sturridge, Rashford, Vardy. I mean, you bring Jamie Vardy on last 20 minutes on the left wing for Dele Alli, and you know it's going to cause carnage. Danny Sturridge as well. I mean, there is options, and I just can't see him do anything other than diamond. No, Uncle Roy, I call him.
Well, it's interesting that we've come up with three very different teams, especially in the midfield and attack. But I'm asking myself, is that because we've got a wealth of options, or is it because there's no clear strongest team, so we're all kind of just having to mix it together? But I think both you guys come up with two teams that I hadn't thought of, and for example, I didn't even consider having Milner in there, but Clive in that formation you spoke about, I can see why that would work. And also even having Ali on the left, with working with Rose, I think that again, it doesn't. He's not his natural position, but I can kind of see it working. But as you said, it's going to be a diamond. So ignore the last 10 minutes. But
the trouble is, there is an issue here, right? That we don't know what system we're going to play, and we don't know what players we're going to play. And that's the truth, right? So that could be a real positive because no one else does. But most teams at least know their system. And then it's a matter of a few, key choices, maybe 2 or 3 choices that end up with your final 11. We don't actually know our system because he has to experiment quite a lot. And that, you know what? I'll give him a bit of credit. Not many managers do that for England. They're so worried about the results. I mean, he's got the results, and he's gone 4-4-2. He's gone 4-2-3-1. He's gone diamond with 2 up top, and he's tried them all out recently. So, it's going to be interesting to see what he settles with for the first game. I mean, it's Jamie Vardy, right? He's had a great season. Him and Kane up front, I think will score goals, and I think England's strength is in the top third, and I do think we've got to play there. We've got to play that top third. We've got to keep the ball there, and because that's where we're going to do well. If we play near our own goal and start to build, I think we could be a bit in the bother.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we'll have to wait and see, I suppose, and hopefully Roy will prove us wrong and do something a bit different. But moving on now, we're going to look at some of the other Arsenal players who are going to be at the tournament. Question for both of you guys. If you had to put money on it, of all the players that we have going to the Euros, we have Giroud with France, we have Özil with Germany, Bellerin's gone with Spain after Carvajal's injury. We've got, of course, Xhaka playing for Switzerland. Of all the guys we've got going, if you had to put money on it, who was going to be the star Arsenal player at the Euros? I'll start with you, Who do you think? Which Arsenal player do you think is going to have the best tournament?
The player I think will have the best tournament, and I really hope he does, is Olivier Giroud. And
you picked my choice. I thought no one was going to go for Giroud.
No, I mean the French
too.
Oh really?
Listen, the French hate him. They can't hack him. It seems to me like 90% of the footballing world can't hack Olivier Giroud. But his last 11 starts, he scored 10 goals for France. He's playing in a team that are going to deliver the ball. Kingsley Coman, they've got Pogba, Matuidi, runners from deep. They've got Whip, Griezmann. I mean, they've got so many options, France. And as the host nation, and often they flatter to deceive at tournaments, but I really, really do fancy them. And I'm excited to see what sort of team they play, because in all positions of the park, pretty much, they're looking good. I mean, they're struggling a bit for centre-back, but in the final third and the attacking third, it's absolutely frightening.
Did you see Pogba's cross for Giroud's goal?
That's
the other
what
night?
I mean,
It was insane, wasn't it?
I mean, Giroud, and let's not take anything away from the finish as well. I mean, the poor geezer, he just cries for things like that. I mean, he knows where to be. He's on the shoulder of his man, takes up a nice position. The ball is incredible. Like, don't worry about that. It was absolutely out of this world. But to know where to be and just to see it come over his shoulder, volley it in like nothing's even happened after he's getting booed on every touch. It's nice, and I really would love him to see him have a great tournament. Obviously, Jack goes without saying because England are going to win the Euros and he's going to win man of the match in every game.
Score the winner, the final.
Exactly, but I would love Ollie G just to sort of prove all the haters wrong a bit for him. It'd be
Can you
nice.
imagine if Giroud scored the winner in the final against England? The amount of Arsenal fans that absolutely hate him if he went and did that as well.
Yeah.
As someone who's quite a fan of him, even though I would be absolutely devastated, it would be quite funny. I might not feel at the time, but I could see the irony in it. Clive, then I guess you want to go with Giroud as well?
Yeah, I was also go with Giroud, but I think another player that's really important to us really is Koscielny, right? We need him to go through the tournament and do well. Yeah. Come back and be he could be a winner and he could be our skipper next year, right? So I think it's important for him. Let's be honest, right? Jack's the one that we're all sort of looking at, right? We haven't seen him for a long time, and I hope he does well. For himself, he deserves a year of good football, right? So I hope he does well because he's so talented. As soon as you see him receive the ball, he just sees things, he moves things. He's just a natural footballer, and right now he's being questioned because of things that gone off the pitch and things that people like. I listened to Danny Mills on the radio this week, and he just hates him. He's got it in for him, right? And he just wants him out of that squad. And there are a lot of people that have got it in for him. So I would really, maybe we're thinking the same was, Giroud's got a few people who don't like him. So we're trying to sympathise him a little bit. And Jack's the same, right? We're Arsenal people, so we look at him. But not even all Arsenal people are that fond of him and the way he behaves, etc. So I'm really hoping that he has a big tournament because he's a big player. And a fit Jack Wilshere anywhere near the Arsenal team makes us a different team. And I hope he has a good tournament.
Yeah, I think we all do. And there's, it's always nice watching our players do well on the international stage. But of course, with us being Englishmen, it would be nothing better than seeing Wilshere have a real stormer of a tournament, especially given the amount of people that have been, as you said, Mills, but he's one of many who have said that he shouldn't have gone. He wasn't fit enough, wasn't worth the risk. But we'd all absolutely love to see, for both his Arsenal and England career, for him to really prove everyone wrong. We can agree on that. I guess one other little bit of news, talk about Bellerin got called up. I think it was Carvajal dropped out the squad after his injury in the Champions League final. Clive, is this the start of his inevitable transfer to Barcelona when he spends his summer with Piqué whispering in his ear? Or should we not get worried?
Well, I'm not too worried, actually. But I do think, Arsenal are reaching a point now where we have a number of players that are reaching the peaks of their career, like Ozil and Sanchez and Bellerin. And he's not at his peak yet, but he's obvious where he's going to go. He's going to be the Premier right back in world football if he continues like this. And I do think, we've shown some good signs by the players we've been linked to and the player we've already bought, that we're starting to respect people's careers and respect the club and where it's going. I do think there's lots of going to happen this summer at Arsenal, so lots of turnover. Bellerin, I do think my only worry with him is the amount of football he's playing. He's just playing a lot of games, right? He's just turned 20. He played a lot when he was 19. I would like to see us have a real competition for him, a real player that can play and work and give him time off. We've got to look after those hamstrings, right? I don't want another Michael Owen on our hands, right? He's outstanding, but I don't want a player like him to be overplayed and then drop away. We've got to look after him as well. So it'd be interesting to see what we do to support him because he's going to play international football for years, European football for years, and Arsenal football hopefully for years. And we've just got to make sure we don't overplay.
I think we could all, even though we're happy for him that he got called up, I think we all kind of wish he'd have a summer off, but I don't think he'll be starting many games, presuming there isn't other injuries to Spain's players. But we'll wait and see. Before we wrap up, guys, we'll have a quick little little prediction for the tournament. I want 3 things from you guys. I want a winner. Actually, no. We'll go 3 things, right? We'll go for a winner. I want to hear a top goal scorer and how far are England going to go. Sorry to put this all on you at short notice, but do you have who would your predictions be?
Right.
Olivier Giroud, top goal scorer.
Yeah, I've already had a score on him.
Right.
That returns me a nice 520 quid, so that'll cover half my season ticket. Happy days.
No pressure, Ollie.
Tournament winners. See, the Germans always turn up at big tournaments, and it's an obvious one. The French, as the host nation, have got a massive shout. My heart wants England to do it. I'll probably go the Germans. Just because they always bloody do it, but not that. And then with regards to England, I think it could go with Royalton. I ain't got a bloody clue. Do you know that? We could either be knocked out in the group stage. We could literally. I honestly do think if we don't show up in the first game against Russia, there's a lot of pressure on the Wales game, and then Slovakia are no mugs, and it could turn into a nasty tournament. Or we could breeze through, and the route to the final ain't the worst for us. And with a new format and things, you could end up playing a few shockers like Albania or Romania in the knockouts, and because we'd end up playing, if we win our group, 3rd place in their group. So, and then you before you know it, you're in the quarterfinals, and it's tournament football. Anything could happen. But
so where are you putting your money on if you had to? I know it's tough, but
group stage knockout.
Group stage knockout. Oh, right. So you've gone for Germany to win it, Giroud top goal scorer, and England group stage knockout.
Oh,
bloody hell. Clive, what do you think, Clive?
I think France will win it. I see, funny enough, I see England doing pretty well, and I see Kane being top goal scorer, and I see England getting really close to semi-final or final. I just think a lot depends on the very first game. If England get a tournament win, I think they could explode. I think there's a number of what I call fearless players in that top third. And if they start to feed off of each other, something could happen there. I think we haven't had this sort of offensive potential for many, many years. And having the ability to score is huge. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not tipping Germany, because I think they've only got 1 centre forward in their squad. And I think they've got like 12 midfielders. They're going to play false nines and things like that. So I think Germany's ability to score goals will be tested. And I think it all depends on Boateng and how fit he is, and Hummels and how he can support Boateng. So I see Germany potentially not doing as well as they should do. And I've just got a real feeling for England to get close. But I think France will probably nick it.
Oh, Clive, I know how you say it, so it puts belief in me, because I feel like I'm an idiot when I think we're going to win it. But when you put it that way...
I've thought about this for a while. I'm almost scared to say it, right? Because it's almost like Arsenal win the league every year, right? When we hit February and Champions League kicks in, and guess what? We're out, right? So, but I just got a feeling there's a little bit of inner confidence in the group. There's some noises that are coming out that are really positive, and I just feel there's a youthfulness. But it depends on momentum. And I think we'll all know what England will look like after June 11th when we play Russia. And I think that's the key night. And if we do well that night, we'll sweep Wales if we beat Russia. And Slovakia won't matter. Then we're into knockout. And I just think, Rooney, watch him. Watch that boy. He cares a lot about himself. He cares a lot about England. He's had a rest this season, and I thought he was outstanding in the cup final. And I'm no fan.
Wouldn't it be typical if after years and years, I mean his whole career really since Euro 2004 of disappointment at big tournaments, for the year where he really, a lot of people didn't want him to start, for him to then go on and have a great performance in a deeper role, I mean it would be quite something, wouldn't it? And let's all hope it happens, because for months I've been thinking, God, no matter how well Ali's playing, or whoever, Rooney will start and he'll take a place of a player who deserves it. But he did play incredibly well in the cup final and did kind of pick up his form a bit at the end of the season. So who knows? In that deeper role, he might rise to the occasion with the younger boys around him to kind of do a bit of the heavy lifting themselves. So I'm going for England. Going to win it. We're going to beat France in the final. I don't even know if that's possible, but we're going to beat France in the final. And Giroud top goal scorer. I'm going to go with that as well.
There we go. I got you.
You got me, Clive. I tell you, if we end up going out early on, I'm going to call you and say this was your fault. You're the one who put me up.
Just delete the podcast, then let's move on.
The missing podcast, the one that never existed. But it's terrible, Every summer I do this to myself, and then I hear World in Motion for the first time about a month before the tournament. I'm like, do you know what? We're going to win it. We're going to win it. And 50-year anniversary of '66.
Going to win it. Rooney's that ugly geezer with no barnet's going to lift the trophy. Can you believe?
Yeah, he's got a lovely barnet, I'll have you know now, Clive. This isn't 2010 anymore. He's kind of lovely little things himself there. So anyway, guys, we'll leave it at that with our expectations high. And, this is nice because we can do all this before the tournament starts. So before the football actually starts. So we don't have the crushing disappointment to come. But who knows, maybe this year will be different. So thanks to both of you for coming on. Just if you are listening, guys, we will be doing a few podcasts over the course of the summer. They will be very much like this. We'll be looking at Arsenal transfers. We'll be looking at, if any other player dyes his hair blonde, we'll be right on it. I won't go under the radar. And of course, we'll be following the tournament, the best games, the best goals, and obviously what the Arsenal players are doing. So keep following the YouTube, iTunes, everything for that. And just also on the Xhaka the deal, just to remind everyone that Akil, who regularly podcasts with us, he did a great interview with Rafa Honigstein of Football Weekly and the BT Sport European Football Show fame. We were talking about Xhaka in great depth. So whilst we kind of all took a bit of a stab at how good a player he was based on YouTube videos, he's a guy who knows what he's talking about. So do check that out as well. Thanks again, guys. Thanks for coming on, mate. Always a pleasure.
Cal, thank you very much for having me, mate. And Clive, thanks for that inspirational speech, mate. Now I'm all right. I know we're going to win it. We're going to win it. Thanks.
No problem, mate. Go and get the Tetleys out.
I've just put my flags up as we're speaking.
On the car window. You're a mild-mannered, softly-spoken Braveheart, Clive. I'm claiming that to you. So, thanks to you as well, Clive, for coming on, mate. Always a pleasure.
No problem. Thank you.
So, this has been the Gooner Ramble. As I said, keep checking the YouTube, the iTunes, the Twitter and everything. And, we'll speak to you over the summer. Thank you and good night.